Good morning, councillors, staff and residents. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we gather on today. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the memories, traditions, cultures and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people across this great nation. I extend my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. I acknowledge the history of wisdom, resilience and survival and respectfully thank them for their contributions to the city, to the life of this city and the region. So welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 24th of January 2024. I declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. I would like to advise meeting attendees that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. So we'd like to go straight into the reflection. Can the gallery please be upstanding if you're able to, and join me for a moment of contemplation. Well, what a year it's been already. There is no denying it wasn't quite the happy new year we were hoping for. The storms that smashed through our city over the Christmas period left a long trail of destruction from which we are still picking up the pieces. Heavy rain, interspersed with hot and humid weather, has also done its best to dampen our spirits. And we are potentially faced with the impact of another cyclone we battle on. Today, my reflection is one to thanks to all those involved in our recovery. Everyone from our hard-working council staff and local contractors to our dedicated volunteers and impacted residents themselves. With power finally flicked back on for most, the true size of that clean-up came to light. Hard waste or green, the numbers are enormous. There were 571 streets impacted by the storms. More than 200 tonnes of general storm waste has been taken to our waste transfer stations by our residents. 2,600 people have attended our recovery hubs. Council employees doing door knocking, welfare checks have walked more than 70 kilometres. 201 parks have been impacted and assessed. More than 450 requests from residents requesting assistance on private property. I am so grateful for the efforts of so many who have worked tirelessly in the recovery. To all our emergency workers, SES, Energex, volunteers, council workers, our impacted community members and so many more, thank you. We are so grateful for your tireless dedication to keeping our people safe and helping return to our city. We are also working hard to get the area feeling livable again with mowing and mosquito management teams out in force. We appreciate everyone's patience and understanding as we prioritise and complete these important jobs. And while he isn't here this morning, I'd like to make a special mention to Councillor Bannon, whose area was the most significantly impacted. He was out there day and night supporting his community, broken leg and all. Thank you. We have one absence to record. Councillor Bannon has given his request. Sorry. Absence. We have a leave of absence today. We have Councillor Bannon, who's, as you know, has got a broken leg and is struggling. Can I put a mover for leave of absence for Councillor Bannon? I'll ask for a mover, Councillor Bradley, and a seconder, Councillor Hall. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion's been carried. Condolences. I now refer to condolences. Do any councillors have a condolence to raise? And I'll start off with Councillor Bradley. No. Councillor Lane.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. On the 1st of January, we lost a 4114 immortal. Jamie Steen was a cheeky, fun-loving Woodridge boy who had a huge impact on my young life. He was a mate to my brother and a star footy player. There's a Latin expression that describes Jamie Steen to a T. Carpe omnia means seize it all. Jamie didn't focus on accumulating worldly goods. Instead, he created a family network that was large and enduring, as witnessed by the large number of people that turned out to his service just over a week ago. Jamie created a world for his family that was safe, intellectually challenging, and filled with loads of love, laughter, and fun. He embraced people and drew them into his circle. He was the type of friend you wouldn't see for a few years. Then, lo and behold, he'd be behind you at a concert, at the Bottle-O, a carton later. You get the idea. He started out playing footy at South Woodridge Junior Rugby League Football Club and continued playing the game well into Masters Leagues. He was a larrikin with a big heart who wore his Hillbillies Tweed Coast Raiders t-shirt with pride, was mad about Celtic Football Club, and was known to dance an Irish jig just about anywhere and on demand. He treated his friends like brothers and his brothers like mates, and the awesome lifestyle he created for the love of his life, Jackie, and their family, was plain to see all over Facebook. Jamie grew into a man who cared about people. He looked after his employees, stood back to back with his mates, challenged bullies, despised Dutton, Abbott and ScoMo, supported his community, never forgot or bagged where he grew up, and he loved his family with the strength of a superhero. Jamie leaves behind a wonderful legacy of love. He and Jackie taught their children and grandson that they have value and what it means to value others, to be a part of something bigger and to live life to the fullest. To Jackie, his daughter Chantel, son Braden and grandson Jude, his brothers Jason, Brian and Michael, and to the old school 4114 people who attended his service, including staff from council. As a representative these days for 4114, I offer my condolences for the loss of one of ours. I have no doubt he's up in heaven with a bevy of ambrosia in one hand and a bunch of raffle tickets in the other, driving angels mad with his wins. #TraceLayer. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lane, Councillor Russell, Councillor Clancy, Councillor Raven, Councillor Hall, Councillor Wilcox, Councillor Murphy. Okay, well, that leaves me. So, I have two. One is Mary Bruff. Probably no one knows Mary here. She was a part of a partnership with Keith, and both Keith and Mary are on the Wall of Acclaim. They were both Daisy Hill legends, but they were involved in the older Logan when we didn't have the facilities that we have now, and they set up the Rural Fire Brigade. They also set up the Progress Association and every other volunteer thing that was going in those days when we didn't have the facilities. So this is like a local legend that moved away a few years ago. I remember when Keith died, because I was at a council meeting, I couldn't attend his funeral. But Mary passed away, unfortunately, and I just want to acknowledge that. She passed away on the 26th of December. Also, we had another local legend, Faye Anderson from the Charter Park Meals on Wheels. I've known Faye for 27 years, possibly more. She was instrumental in Meals on Wheels. She was an absolute legend. She was always on the committee. She was one of those people that just gave and gave and gave, and had been struggling with Parkinson's for the last 5 years. And her son, Brett, advised me. Unfortunately, her funeral was on the 3rd of January and I was involved in the clean-up down at Jimboomba. I couldn't go. I was meeting the Major General down there. Unfortunately, I didn't go to the funeral. I would have loved to, but she was an absolute legend, and we'll have to send something out to that family as well. So with that being in place, I now refer to condolences. We now have observed a minute of contemplation, of reflection in honour of those who have gone before us and in support of those who have been left behind. Please stand if you're able to and join me. Thank you, councillors. I now refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting. I move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held... Congratulations. Oh, sorry? Congratulations. Okay. Now I open the floor for congratulation requests. Do any councillors have one? I'll start with Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I'd like to do a big shout out to Barlin Mohammed Yusuf. Barlin is a local Woodridge girl who has been accepted into Griffith Uni's Bachelor of Nursing. Her parents are refugees from Ethiopia and Somalia. They've had it tough ever since they arrived, having had a dad who just couldn't work. They've brought themselves up and they've really done a great job of actually making Barlin see that there are so many possibilities here in this country. Barlin is so excited to start, and Mohammed's running around with her acceptance thing in his pocket, showing everybody that he can. So congratulations to Barlin. And to Mukai and the executive of the Karen community. I attended their New Year's celebrations on the 6th of January with my colleague, Councillor Raven. And the Karen community just put on this absolutely wonderful display of what it is for their history, for their dance, for their food, and it's absolutely amazingly astonishing. There is so much effort that goes in, and I'm really pleased that Marsden High has become their regular haunt to hold these New Year celebrations. Hopefully one year we'll get big enough for Kingston Butter Factory, but until then, congratulations to the entire team.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Russell, Councillor Raven, Hall. Yep, Councillor Hall.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. I'd like congratulations to be passed over to the students of Windaroo Valley State High School because in conjunction with the Perth Modern School students, they've created history by being the first Australian public school to ever win the Australian Space Design Competition Finals. Now, the challenge that they were given was to design a space settlement that could move asteroids in Earth's crossing orbits into orbits where they can provide raw materials for refineries and factories in space. And, you know, that'd be a pretty impressive set of work, probably not something within the scope of Logan City Council to do. I would like to give special mention to their coach, Mr. Firm and Mrs. Mayer, who gave up part of their holidays to enable the students to participate in the finals. And you know, with such a short turnaround, the school is also seeking sponsorship to enable the students to compete at the ISSDC in the USA in July this year. So if you're interested in sponsoring them, please get in touch with Windaroo Valley State School. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Stamp. Yep, Councillor Stamp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I'd like to ask that congratulations be passed on to the Logan Thunder Under-18 Division 1 girls team who recently competed in the State Basketball Championships. Mr Mayor, this team were undefeated for the tournament and in the gold medal game defeated Cairns Dolphins to win the 2024 Under-18 Championship for the second consecutive year, which is an amazing achievement. The Thunder family had 6 teams competing for medals in the Under-18 Championships, with a gold and silver medal in other divisions, which shows the calibre of basketball talent we have here in Logan and how great the future is for Logan Thunder. Thank you.
Just imagine how good we'd be if we had more indoor sports centres. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to say congratulations to all the little preppies that started this week. School's back obviously this week, so congratulations to all the preppies. I know when mine started prep there was a few tears and that sort of thing, and they had a teary morning tea for us all. Congratulations to all the teachers. I know they've been doing some really hard work prep since last week to get everyone back at school as well. Good luck to everyone though for their 2024 school year. I know both of mine actually started today, so there were no tears from me because I have grade 8 and grade 11, so it was terrific, but there's so many firsts that happened throughout this week for all school kids starting. So well done, thank you, and I'm pretty sure I am overhearing, what are we doing today? And there's nothing to eat in the house, Mum. So I'm glad they're back. Thanks.
Spoken like a former teacher. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have two today. Mr Mayor, in 2022, during the global pandemic, something special happened in Beenleigh. The production company who came to film Netflix series adaptation of the award-winning Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. It was a real novelty to see the cameras in our world-class actors, Travis Fimmel and Phoebe Tompkins, grace the streets of Beenleigh. The film locations in Beenleigh have woven the spirit of the community and to the fabric of this series. Locals watching the show would have recognised familiar places like the houses on Cameron Street, the Beenleigh Pool, the clubhouse and the soccer fields of Chris Green Park, under the M1 at Logan River Parklands, the famous Red Bridge, the backs of Lava Coffee and much more. I wanted to express to the council officers who helped the production team from the roads department, the parks and the city standards. Logan City Council certainly rolled out the red carpet and made the process very, very easy. Mr Mayor, I request that congratulations be sent to the author Trent Dalton and Netflix Australia New Zealand on the success of their show. And secondly, Eagleby Neighbourhood Centre, in partnership with Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre, recently hosted Eagleby Youth Day Out. It was great to see all the families and visiting and seeing all the services that we have in our community. I'd like to acknowledge the community that come together, and that includes Logan City Council Libraries and the Art Gallery, ACOR, Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre, Wesley Mission Eagleby, Beenleigh Theatre Group, Rotary Club of Beenleigh, who cook the sausages as always, Eagleby Giants, YFS, Twin Rivers Centre and Best Disability Support. I also want to thank and recognise all the little kids that participated in my Eagleby flag design competition. The entries were very colourful and creative and reflected the wealth of community spirit that we have in 4207 Heaven. Congratulations to William 6 and Journey 1, who were the winners of the competition. Mr Mayor, I ask that congratulations please be sent for the event.
That will be done, Councillor Murphy. And you noticed in the actual movie, the pool was under maintenance.
That's correct.
Anyway, confirmation of the minutes. I refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting. I move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 6th of December 2023 be confirmed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Stemp has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. I now refer to the declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare any new conflicts of interest against any items on today's agenda, including any conflicts which have subsequently arisen from matters discussed at the committee? There being none, I now refer to the next item on the agenda, which is business arising from the minutes. We have no business arising from the minutes to consider, so we'll go straight into the committees. I now refer to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024. Councillor Raven, Chairperson of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Only two more times that you've got to read out that long committee before the end of the term. Mr Mayor, I note that item 5.3, the Springwood Town Square, January 2024, was deferred for further consideration. This item will be discussed separately in today's agenda. However, the committee recommendation to defer the consideration today is included in the committee minutes. I also note that the 5.5 confidential report, Invest Logan Deregistration Update, January 2024, received an additional clause for Council's consideration. Therefore, this item will also be separated from the bulk adoption. I will now speak to the recommendations. And Mr Mayor, I just really want to speak to item 5.2, which is about the faster rail project from Currabee to Beenleigh going through Logan. I know that public transport has been a passion of yours for a long time, and getting as much of it as possible for our city is very important, not just for this council, but for residents all over the region. And there's a clear expectation that although this project is not our project, it's a state government project, residents expect that we'll communicate with them about what's happening and advocate on their behalf. It's really exciting to see the urban renewal that will happen around the major train station upgrades like Woodridge, Logan Lee and Beamley. And this is the biggest public transport investment we've seen in our city in decades. So we don't want to seem ungrateful, but we do want the best outcome for our people. So it should be noted that while this project is amazing for the city, there's still a lot of work to do, and I want to thank David Radich's team for the amazing work that he's been doing to really push the wagon for the people of Logan to make sure that those of us who are giving up our homes, those residents who are being asked to give up their homes, that other people can have better public transport, so that their sacrifice does not go, their sacrifice is not wasted. We're very grateful for those people to have to give up their homes during a housing crisis, and that it's so important, though, that we get great outcomes for our centres and for our cities by pushing really hard to make sure this project is done well, not just done enough. So thank you, Mr Mayor, for your support on that one. I know you've been advocating strongly to the Minister for Transport, and I'm sure the new Minister will be eager to hear from you on this matter as soon as he gets his feet under the desk properly. I don't have any further comments at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the report? No, I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that 1, the minutes of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on 16 January 2024 be confirmed, and 2, that the recommendations of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024, with the exception of item 5.5, be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Do we have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Hall is second of the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I'll put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Is there any councillors wish to record their name against any of those items discussed in the committee other than those other two? No. Thank you. We'll keep going. Okay, we'll go to 5.5. Confidential report, Invest Logan deregistration update, January 2024. In relation to item 5.5, confidential report, Invest Logan deregistration update, January 2020, I'll ask Councillor Raven, chairperson of the committee, to speak on the matter.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. At the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024, a recommendation was carried. However, council officers have suggested an additional recommendation be considered by council today.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. I note this is a confidential report. A proposed resolution to move this matter into closed session is displayed on the screen. Do any councillors wish to move into a closed session for this item? None being so, I will now I'll now hand it back to Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As the meeting is going to remain in open session, do you want to ask any councillors if they'd like to ask questions of Director Strachan?
Are there any questions? No. Hand it back to Councillor Raven.
Mr Mayor, let me scroll through. I'd like to move that. Is the motion going to be displayed on the screen for councillors? Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm not going to read that entire amendment because it is very long. Councillors, there is a motion on the screen for you. I would like to move that the motion on the screen be placed before the council for consideration. Okay,
thank you. So the amended motion is displayed on the screen. For transparency, I note the additional clause is recommendation 3. Is there a mover for the motion as shown? Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put it to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has not been carried unanimously. Everyone except for Councillor Bradley. How do you vote on that, Councillor Bradley?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I am abstaining, and my reasons I cannot explain why, because it's in the confidential.
Okay. All right. So I would imagine that no one voted for that would be recording their name against that. So we'll keep moving on. City Infrastructure Committee. I now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024. As there were no recommendations, Councillor Lane, Chairperson of City Infrastructure Committee, do you wish to speak? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Lane. Do any councillors wish to speak? No. There being no speakers, Councillor Lane, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the minutes of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on 16 January 2024 be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Lane has moved the motion. I have a seconder.
Sorry, I did want to speak. Am I allowed
No, I've moved on. You've missed your opportunity. I have a seconder. That's been seconded. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. Put it to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. City Lifestyle. I now refer to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024. Councillor Hall, Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In the first City Lifestyle Committee for 2024, councillors were presented with 3 reports, the first being a report that presented findings from a review of homelessness in the City of Logan. The report includes information about council's current response, the role of local government and recommendations to address the organisational challenges and optimise efforts in response to homelessness in the city. While state and federal governments have led responsibility for preventing and responding to homelessness, multiple teams across council are engaged in homelessness as part of their roles. The second report provided an update on the outstanding ratification works associated with the Underwood Park multi-sport development. Council have worked closely with Superintendent to uphold the principal contractor's obligations to rectify issues with the construction and to ensure the courts meet the performance requirements for netball. Councillors were pleased to hear that the rectification works are programmed to be completed prior to the commencement of the 2024 netball season. The third report provided an insight into the shared roles all levels of government in safeguarding our community and our environment for the major biosecurity threat that is red imported fire ants. Council has an opportunity to advocate for funding to ensure it can adequately assist in safeguarding our economy, environment and biodiversity. In general business, councillors took the opportunity to express their gratitude for initiatives and efforts undertaken around the city, including the illegal dumping task force and the mowing team who look after our parks. I would also like to take this opportunity on behalf of Council to thank our many residents for their patience and compassion towards Council staff in getting these things done during the storm season. If only my hair grew back as quickly and as fastly as the grass during the wet season, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Do any councillors wish to speak? There's some interesting topics there, particularly homelessness. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wish to pass on my sincere thanks to the staff who have been working tirelessly behind the scenes for the Underwood Park rectification work. A lot of work has gone on confidentially. It first started back in 2019 during administration, and I saw what was going on and reported it internally, was not able to follow up on it until I was back as a councillor in 2020. But I want to pass on my sincere thanks to the staff for following up on this, because otherwise it would have come back to council as an asset, but we're actually making sure that we have the best type of asset before it comes to us. So thank you.
Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to rise to speak on item 5.1, if I may, which is Council's respond to homelessness. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this council for showing compassion for the least fortunate people who live in our community and our city. I recognise that council doesn't have the financial resources to do the heavy lifting in this space, but we certainly do have a myriad of expertise within the 4 walls of this building, and I'm glad that we're putting our hat in to be part of the conversation moving forward in supporting residents. And I would also just like to highlight my concern with regard to cost of living in southeast Queensland and in Logan in particular, and you know, I fear that the cost of living combined with the issue of homelessness, we're only going to have greater problems moving forward. And again, I just commend council for taking a proactive stance with regard to this issue. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Any other councillors? I might put my 5 cents in here. I went and visited Eagleby and the areas that have homelessness. Went and spoke to majority of the people there. A lot of them, all sorts of different reasons why they're there. But when you read the paper and you see that there are now another 600,000 Australians in the population of Australia, and there's 700,000 people who have overstayed their visas, we have a huge problem in this country, and it's only going to get worse. I acknowledge that Logan City is doing its best it can as far as development-wise. We have been the only local authority that stuck to all its targets. And just acknowledging that this is a policy that how we deal with those homelessness people in our area. Our situation isn't as bad as other local authorities, but it is going to get worse, I believe. And I believe that there's projections of another 250,000 new Australians coming this year, and that's only an approximate. So local government is going to have its challenges, and the best way to address those challenges is to be prepared, and this policy helps us with something. It's not. We don't have, obviously, the finances to tackle the issue. We can only do our job, which is the development of our city. So congratulations to the officers for putting this together. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the minutes of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024 be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Stemp has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion's been carried. I now refer to the City... Oh, sorry. Yep. Anyone wish to record their name against any of those items? No. Okay. Keep moving. I now refer to the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024. Councillor Murphy, Chairperson of City Governance Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to note that items 5.2 Local Infrastructure Program, January 2024, the City Governance meeting, will be addressed in today's agenda later, separated from the bulk adoptions of the recommendations due to an amendment of 2 projects which has since been received. I also note that Councillor Herrenmeyer has a declarable conflict of interest in relation to 5.9 of the City Governance meeting, where he was required to leave the meeting whilst the item was voted on.
Oh, yeah. Murphy, your microphone.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, do you need me to start that again? Yep. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to note that item 5.2, the Local Infrastructure Program, January 2024 of the City Governance Committee will be addressed later in today's agenda and separated from the bulk adoptions of the recommendations due to 2 amended projects which has since been received. I also note that Councillor Herrenmeyer has a declarable conflict of interest in item 5.9 of the City Government's Committee meeting, where he will be required to leave the meeting while the voting is being taken place. Therefore, this item will also be excluded from the bulk adoptions of the recommendations, and Councillor Herrenmeyer will be asked to leave the meeting for the duration of that vote. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Hand it back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Do you wish to speak to any of those? No. Anyone else wish to speak to any of the topics in that agenda? No. I hand it back to you, Councillor Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the minutes of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024 be confirmed, and 2, that the recommendations of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024, with the exceptions of item 5.2 and 5.9, be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy's moved the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Raven has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? I now put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, except for Councillor Herrenmeyer. Councillor Herrenmeyer, do you wish to state why you didn't vote for that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I abstain due to clause 1 regarding minutes. It's unclear whether or not I'm eligible to vote, so to err on the side of caution, I've decided to abstain.
Thank you, Councillor Herrenmeyer. They'll be recorded. Any other councillors wish to record their name against any of those items? No. We'll keep moving. Councillor Murphy.
Mr Mayor, it's over to you at 5.2.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah. So, in relation to item 5.2, Local Infrastructure Program, January 2024 of the City Governance Committee, I'll now ask Councillor Murphy, Chairperson of the City Governance Committee, to speak to the matter. Before Councillor Murphy joins the discussion, we'll need to motion to table the amended attachments 1 and 2, which were circulated to councillors on Friday the 19th of January 2024. The motion is now displayed on the screen. As this is a procedural motion, I will move this motion. I will now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Councillor Murphy, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Since committee last week, 2 amendments were made for funding amounts of projects, and it was LIP number 00668 and LIP number 00408. They were in projects in Division 9 and Division 5. Which were included in the updated attachments distributed to councillors on Friday the 19th of January and tabled at this meeting. Due to this amendment, we will require a vote on the amended recommendations to the adoption of this project.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. The motion is now displayed on the screen. Is there a mover for the motion? Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hall, a second on the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Is there anyone wish to record their name? They shouldn't be. They'll vote for it. Okay. Item 5.9, Councillor Conduct. I now refer to item 5.9 of the City Governance Committee meeting. Accordingly, can I ask Councillor Heremiah to leave the meeting until the matter has been voted on? Councillor Murphy, Chairperson of City Governance Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the recommendations of the item 5.9 of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024 be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy has moved the motion. There is a second of the motion. Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Okay, that has not been carried unanimously, so I'll record everyone's vote. I'll go around. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote?
For.
Councillor Lane?
Abstain, Mr Mayor. May I give a reason? It's that I don't agree with the wording of the recommendation.
Councillor Russell?
For.
Councillor Kransky?
I too wish to abstain, Mr Mayor. I don't feel qualified to make a determination on this one.
Councillor Raven?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor Fraser?
For.
Councillor Stamp?
I'm abstaining, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Wilcox?
Mr Mayor, I'm for this recommendation because it's to adopt the meeting minutes, but I was against the actual recommendation in the meeting.
So this is item 5.9, which is dealing with the... So you're voting...
I'm for this recommendation because this is adopting the meeting minutes, but I was against...
Okay. Councillor Murphy? For.
For.
This is the actual matter itself.
On the screen, we've got the recommendation of 5.9 of the City Government's meeting being held in the January 2024 would be adopted. That's just taking into consideration that particular item.
You understand, Councillor Wilcox?
Okay, I think I'm against then. Sorry.
Okay, all those have been recorded. Can I now please ask for Councillor Heremiah to come back? Oh, and I voted for. Okay. We have one council report to consider, being item 5.3 of the City Planning, Economic Development Environment Committee meeting held on the 16th of January 2024, which was deferred to Ordinary Council for further consideration. Mr Dave Radich, Economic Development City Planning, is in the room. Do any councillors have any questions for Mr Radich? None being so. Thank you, Mr Radich. Councillors, please note an amended recommendation was provided following the committee last week. This amended recommendation is now displayed on the screen. It is a remover for the motion. Do I have a mover to the motion? Do I have a seconder to the motion? So you should have all received this prior to the meeting. I'll give you 60 seconds to read it. Okay, it appears that everyone's read it. Just to clarify, number one was the original recommendation, and number two is an addition to the recommendation. So I've got a mover to the motion. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Raven has moved seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? Yep, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wish to speak to the motion. I don't 100% agree with what is within the report. I gave the council officers back in 2020 some information, emails from previous staff in relation to Springwood Town Square. That has never been in any reports. And unfortunately, some of the information, in my opinion, is not correct. However, this will just enable the future consideration. It's not a 100% decision today that you are going to put your hand in your pocket, or ratepayers of the City of Logan are going to put their hand in the pocket, because the state government have actually given council land previously for council to look after. So this just gives an opportunity down the track, and it doesn't commit council for anything definite at this point in time.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. I might add to that as well. Just today, this just gives us the flexibility. As you know, there's land resumptions happening on the Pacific Highway, and if there's an opportunity that presents itself to purchase or possibly acquire through the state government for a town square, as you know, there is a state election coming up, and there has been previously land acquired by the state government and given to this council. Canoobia Forest is one of them, when they were putting the original tollway through Daisy Hill Forest after that was defeated in 1998 when Labor got to power again. Then we were given some land that was going to have the tollway. So it just gives us the flexibility if this land becomes available, because the land at the front of the freeway might present itself a real highlight if we were able to acquire some of that land for Springwood. So that's my 5 cents worth. If there's any other councillors wish to comment. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. The same thing happened at committee where Councillor Bradley raised concerns that there weren't things in the report. Can I just ask a question of the Director, please? Sorry, you want to ask a question? Yes, please, of the Director.
Sorry, to?
Dave Hanson, the Director.
Dave Hanson. Dave, you make yourself available.
Thanks very much for your indulgence, Mr Mayor. Director Hanson, Councillor Bradley said that there is material that was missing from the report that she believes is relevant. Given I'm making a decision today, is there any relevant information that is missing from the report that Councillor Bradley raised in the committee?
Thank you. Through the Chair, I don't have the benefit of having been at committee last week to hear that discussion, but in my mind, all the information that's required for council to make the decision that's in front of them is in the report. So, but I'm happy to receive any information from Councillor Bradley or any other councillor regarding what specifically might be missing.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that I had the relevant information before I make this decision.
I just want to state that I was involved in a meeting and we did discuss the land becoming available through the acquisition process for the freeway, and I was a bit surprised it wasn't on there, so as a recommendation to add to that. So anyway, that being that. We'll keep moving on because I think obviously with the amount of construction that is happening on the freeway, there will be, I believe, some acquisition. It may not come about, there may not have anything, nothing may become available, but it just gives us that flexibility. Any other councillors? Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. With what Councillor Bradley just stating about the missing information for reports, Councillor Bradley, are you satisfied with amendment number clause 2?
You want to address that, Councillor Bradley?
Thank you. I think it just opens up flexibility in the future, that's all.
Mr Mayor, through you, I guess with item number 2, it's very specific in terms of, you know, future surplus state land associated with the emigrant. I mean, I'm all for surplus land being used. If we can get given surplus land, that's amazing. I'm a bit concerned by the specifics of it in terms of, I mean, I think we should maybe assess, if we get given the land, what's the best use for it, is my thoughts. That's the only issue I have with number 2, is what's the best use for that land if we are given that land?
Clearly, a civic square has been identified in the plan right from the get-go. So if land was to become available, clearly it would be for that purpose. If we were to save money, it is in the planning scheme. So we need to address that. If it becomes available for nothing, if we get it for free, it's just an absolute bonus. Any other questions? Okay, we've had a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Raven has seconded the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has not been carried unanimously. The motion has been carried. We'll ask those. I will go around the room and ask how you voted. Councillor Bradley?
4.
Councillor Lane?
4.
Councillor Russell?
I'm abstaining, and my reason is that I think clause 2 is superfluous and vague, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Councillor Kransky?
4.
Councillor Raven?
4.
Councillor Hall?
4.
Councillor Fraser?
4.
Councillor Hieronymi?
4.
Councillor Stemp?
Mr Mayor, I'm abstaining for the same reason that I discussed before. I'd like that, say, clause 2 to be a little bit broader. Thank you.
Councillor Wilcox?
I agree. I'm going to abstain because I think clause 2 locks us in.
Councillor Murphy?
4.
And for the record, I voted for it as well. Thank you. Okay. Late reports. We have no late reports to consider. Do any councillors have any petitions? No petitions? Must be happy people out there. Consideration of notified motions. We have no notified motions to consider. General business today will be starting at Division 7 and we'll be allowing Councillor Kransky to speak last. So, Councillor Fraser. Councillor Hieronymi.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise today to speak on 2 items relevant to Division 8. The first one is a new flooding issue that's emerged in Logan Reserve, according to many residents. Now, there's a risk that the eastern section of Logan Reserve will be cut off during regular flood events. Some detail on this issue is that there's been thousands of new houses recently been approved in East Logan Reserve, and there's 3 ways to access East Logan Reserve: Logan Reserve Road North, Logan Reserve Road South, and School Road. Now, the history of Logan Reserve is it used to be called the Logan Reserve Agricultural District. So it's very flat, and in a flat area next to a river, areas flood. The locals have been able to adapt to that, and when the northern section of Logan Reserve Road floods, they could use School Road and Logan Reserve Road South. When the northern section of Logan Reserve floods and School Road floods, there's always been the third access point, the southern section of Logan Reserve Road, according to many residents. Now, in the December and January storms, we noticed a new development, and that was that the southern section of Logan Reserve Road started flooding as well. So many residents told me that there's a risk that these thousands of houses newly approved will actually be cut off from the city, from hospitals, from supermarkets, because of these 3 main access points being cut off. Now, I've requested that Council authors a memo detailing what are Council's plans to make sure that this access point isn't endangered, and I've also requested that that memo is public so the community can come together and we can form an action plan as to how we can advocate to make sure that people have safe access into and out of Logan Reserve Road East. I'd like to thank the community for their work on this. Lots of people are concerned, but the best thing about Logan Reserve and Park Ridge is that we're willing to roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty and work together. The second point I raise is the developing issues at Flinders Park in Logan Reserve. Flinders Park is a beautiful new park recently built, but there's an undercurrent of risk of antisocial behaviour, risk of dangerous driving and risk of light spilling into nearby neighbouring properties. Now, I'd like to thank Roger and Greg from the Logan Reserve neighbourhood who gathered together hundreds of residents, have submitted petitions and letter after letter advocating to fix these important issues. I can assure the community that Council is investigating all of these issues that have been reported and we expect an update by the end of the week. I look forward to meeting with the Logan Reserve community, Roger and Greg, and of course the lovely team at Halcyon Rise to figure out how can we reduce these risks of Flinders Park. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hermeyer. Councillor Stamp. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The past couple of weeks has been very testing on the City of Logan and its residents. It wasn't exactly the end to 2023 and the start to 2024 that anyone was expecting. Many residents spent the better part of the first week after Christmas without power, and with some without power into New Year's. With so many still battling the effects today from that storm. Logan is still recovering from the storm damage, and there is a mountain of work yet still to be completed in many locations around the city, not only by residents but council staff and contractors as well. Our teams are out currently in the affected areas. They're removing trees and vegetation that have been on road verges for disposal, and this will continue street by street for quite some time. Since the storm, many have noticed that our mowing and landscape maintenance program is just a little bit behind schedule. The mowing contractors are out every day when the sun has been shining and when the conditions are just right that we can actually get mowers on without causing further damage. I know personally in my own property I've been trying to mow, but I've left deep track marks, I have snapped belts and I have got bogged. So between whippersnipping, push mowing and a few more days of dry weather, I've actually got my jungle mowed. But I'm now looking and dreading at the next week because I'm now wearing gumboots every time I actually walk outside in my yard. I'm asking for residents to be patient as we catch up on our mowing schedule over the next few weeks. Our crews have been out trying to mow and maintain where they can and when they can, where it's safe to do so without causing further damage to equipment or further damage to the grounds. Our suburbs have been through so much, and bringing our homes and some suburbs back to a fresh new look will help in the recovery phase in making Logan beautiful again. For residents, if you're struggling to mow, have a little heart for our poor contractors and crews when they're mowing, because they're struggling as well. The sides of the roads and the parks will eventually get mown, so we're just asking for a little bit of patience while it is. But while we are, keep mindful that yes, we still need to get our own footpaths and road verges and nature strips. I've actually had to whippersnip and push mow my own, and it does take quite a while, and I did get stuck and bogged in the front. It was quite embarrassing with everyone driving past, but thank you for the waves and the toots. Mr Mayor, I'd like to congratulate you on your leadership over the past couple of weeks. During this time, we've had many volunteer agencies that have assisted during the episode of the storm destruction. We spoke so many times on the phone just to check in, and you took my feedback on board and you implemented it the next day, with the Logan West pool being open up free for those without power so they could shower, and generally so they could just go and cool off in the 40-degree heat. So I want to thank you for that and getting it open the next day. My sincerest thanks goes to those who volunteered their time and resources to help others during this time. I witnessed many acts of kindness and neighbours helping neighbours during this time. More so in other areas of Logan, especially in Division 9, especially that suffered the huge impacts from the storm and the rain. I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Bannon during this time for the energy he's brought to the cleanup and the recovery efforts, and a huge shout out to his amazing wife Linda, who has chauffeured him around whilst he's been on crutches, and I do not think that was an easy task for Linda, but she's a beautiful human being, so thank you. And I'd also like to thank the council officers who have already spoken to me this morning, They're prepping for the weather that may possibly come in the wake of the cyclone, especially because, yes, Division 11, we know how it is to flood and get flooded in and create islands, because Division 11 gets 3 islands and we get cut off from services. So thank you, and I'm welcoming the prep that's already occurring. Thank you.
Sorry. Councillor Murphy. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Out of respect to the family who had a passing recently during the flood event or the rain event the start of this year, I did not express that in condolences. The family knew that we actually had their thoughts with us, and I personally went and visited them myself. I'm talking about a family in Rochester South who lost tragically a 9-year-old daughter. I was asked by the family members to raise enclosing the drains in committee. That was done. And I want to thank Director Trinker, who responded to that request in committee during the week, and it's not an easy subject. I also want to thank sincerely all the staff, all the volunteers, all the councillors as well, Councillor Wilcox, Councillor Bannon, and everyone else who, and I think even Councillor Murphy, you were impacted by the rain event over that period of time. It was a massive effort. I could see it from afar. I offered my assistance. No one called out to me, but I definitely did offer. I'm very grateful that the area that I represent is quite elevated, and so we don't have massive flooding or events that you experience. So my sincere thanks to everyone involved. But we are actually experiencing natural springs popping up everywhere. So we're very much in the same boat as Division 11, in that the mowing has been impacted by sludgy nature strips, etc. So thank you everyone for your patience.
Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I've got 2 things today. Jake Moss is a local artist who's a bit edgy and is absolutely fantastic. Grew up in Woodridge, and he was a recent recipient of the Regional Arts Development Fund to do a project on the Adventure Park skate park down at Woodridge. And he's looking for people who have skated in the halfpipe or in the park in the past, and he's looking for their stories and how the park actually captured their attention, gave them a space to go to when they were younger, and helped them on their journey through teenage years, and including adulthood as well, because there's a few older people get down to that park. We wish Jake well, and I did a video with him yesterday. He's such a motivated young man, and we appreciate what he's doing for the local area. The second thing is like Councillor Wilcox, I've been out with the whippersnipper and the mower, but it hasn't actually been getting bogged in my own front yard. It's actually been doing other people's. And the reason why that's happening is because a lot of our elderly out in the community can't mow their lawns. They can't get those lawnmowers and whippersnippers through their lawns. And some of the ones who are actually on aged care packages, their aged care providers are not mowing the footpaths. So these people have very proud properties that they look after, that they have a package that's supposed to cover the cost of mowing, and some of those providers are not mowing the footpath, saying that the boundary is the only place that they have to go to. Shame on them, Mr Mayor, shame on them. And I would hope that as a council we would write to aged care providers and say, please include this as part of the process when someone actually uses their package to get the mowing done in the local area. I've been out whippersnipping footpaths so that people's properties match their footpath. It's just not okay, and it's really sad. I'd love to see our community reach out to people who do have long footpaths or long yards and say, do you need a hand? That's the Australian thing to do. That's the right thing to do, because sometimes people just can't manage or they don't have the materials to do it. So lend a hand where you can. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Russell. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Wilcox referred to the wet weather that we're predicting this weekend. Would I be able to ask a question to the CEO about how preparations are going in relation to the predicted wet weather?
Yes, far away.
So what are we doing? What are we doing, Mr CEO?
Right.
Tell us the story.
Sure. So I'm going to ask the Director of Transport and Water to come up and provide some information on our preparedness and the information we have about the weekend's event. As he does that, though, I just note the inherent uncertainty in any such predictions and encourage residents to continue to seek future updates from the relevant authorities.
Thank you, Mr CEO, because if I listen to the Courier Mail, it sounds like the flood of all floods is coming, but I know that they're not always the source of truth that we'd like them to be. Mr Trenker, do you have any feedback on the preparations that Council is doing with the weather that's coming and what we can expect this weekend?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. Thank you for inviting me up. Everyone will be aware of the media regarding the potential cyclone that's going to cross later in the week. I would suggest that people, as the CEO said, continue to monitor the bomb forecasts and warnings. At the moment, the tropical low forecast is that it will form into a cyclone later today and make landfall north of Ayr late tomorrow night. It has developed slower and weaker than originally expected, and therefore the potential for the southeast over the weekend is reduced significantly. It's too early to predict exactly what's going to happen in the southeast after the weekend, but at the moment the predictions for rainfall over the weekend is very little for Friday, and then between 20 and 40 mils over Saturday and Sunday, so less than 100 mils over the long weekend. In that regard, it should not cause us any problems. We need a lot heavier and longer rain for the southeast to be impacted as we were in 2017 or 2022. As for Council's preparations, we've been preparing for the worst since last week, and so Council resources are prepared. We've ensured that our staff are aware should we have to stand up the LDCC, the Local Disaster Coordination Centre. We are continuing to monitor the information coming out of the State Disaster Coordination Centre on a daily basis, sometimes 2 to 3 times a day, and we'll continue to do that right over the weekend. Should things change, we'll update our social media, we'll update our Logan website disaster dashboard, and we'll keep councillors informed so that they can update their networks as well. As I said, I am comfortable with our council preparation, and I'm comfortable that the weekend should not create the sort of concern that we had in 2022.
Fantastic.
Too early to predict what happens next week.
Thank you, Mr Trenker. And the question that I get asked by residents whenever there's some heavy rain predicted, especially those that are impacted by flash flooding, are will we have sandbags available, and will they be available across the city or just in one location?
Yes, Councillor, I can advise you that we have identified 4 locations throughout the city, a combination of 2 of our own sites and 2 SES sites, and if required we will activate those and advise residents. At the moment there is no need to panic or for people to get sandbags, but they will be available should that change.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr Trenker.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Recently, a road in Division 6, Tees Road in Homeview, had some repair work done by Council to address some of the potholes and irregularities, which is a regular occurrence on roads, much like many of the roads Logan City Council inherited from Gold Coast during the amalgamation into our divisions. Unfortunately, several residents were unhappy when the work crew left because they thought or were under the impression that works being done were actually to upgrade the entire road, not just fix some irregularities or some potholes. One resident was so upset that they outlined on social media that within my term of 4 years, I have not addressed or attempted to address Tees Road. I can understand the residents' frustration regarding not seeing a greater extent of work done to the road, but the claim that I have not advocated for this road to be fixed or upgraded during my term is simply untrue. Over the last 4 years, I have advocated several times for this road in particular, as well as many others like it, to be upgraded. My colleague, Councillor Murphy, could vouch for me on that because every discussion about the potential east-west connector, I've always raised Tees Road that adjoins it and asked that it be included within that potential upgrade. One resident raised that I am more focused on upgrading parks, football clubs and footpaths than I am about fixing roads, and that again is untrue. I've spent a great deal of my career advocating for roads to be fixed and have even supported the allocation of Division 6 local infrastructure funding towards that goal, many times over. However, the fact remains that the upgrading of this road is an entirely new realm of expense in comparison to the many hundreds of upgrades I've supported with funding. In fact, it would be fair to say that if I supported allocation of local infrastructure funding towards this road as a priority, there would have been no clubhouse upgrade at Waterford Demons, there would have been no dinosaur park in Meadowbrook, there would have been no dog park in Grove Road Reserve, there would be no security cameras. I could go on and on and on. The only thing that Division 6 would have had done if I put this as a priority over the entire term would be one road fixed. Now, if you were to ask the community what they would prefer, one road or those hundreds of things that I've supported or upgraded, they will tell you, please share the money out. The expense of upgrading a road is very different to the expense of painting a water tower. They're like apples and oranges. You cannot say, why is he doing this when he's not doing this? They're very different things. And Mr Mayor, for the sake of transparency, this leads me to my general business item. That a report be prepared to a future City Infrastructure Committee meeting outlining the expense and time frame required for a potential upgrade of Tees Road Homeview to current road technical and safety standards, including footpath, curb and channel.
Councillors, as you can see, there's a recommendation for a GB item up on the board. It calls for a report, which is obviously allowed under GB rules. Councillor Hall has moved the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. Put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Well done, Councillor Hall. Okay, before I hand over to Councillor Karansky, I just want to do my little GB, just letting you know that I'm just very disappointed as the Mayor of this great city that we couldn't land the Premier in this great city. As you know, it went to a vote. We had two candidates in Logan and we had one candidate somewhere else and the other candidate got out. I did my lobbying. I did the best I could to try and land one. I said I don't really care which one as long as it's a Logan mayor, a Logan resident, and unfortunately that didn't happen. It would have been great for the city and I think it would have been an absolute moral booster for everyone. But unfortunately some state members may have put their own in front of the city's welfare. Yep. Anyway, so I'll hand it over to Councillor Karansky to do her GB.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have two items today. The first one is further to Councillor Raven's comments with respect to potential upcoming flooding. Through the CEO, I respectfully request that consideration be given to providing sandbags in Logan Village. We have the SES depot out there and that request has come to us via our local rural fire brigade in the lead up to the upcoming potential rain event. Moving on, Mr Mayor, having committed 8 years to local government, I've made the decision not to contest the upcoming local government election in March. After careful consideration, I believe it's time for me to explore new opportunities. So to the residents of Bannockburn, Baliva, Buchan, Cedar Creek, Carabao, Waterford, Windaroo, Wolfdean, parts of Bethania, Logan Village and Tamborine, I extend a true heartfelt thanks. I thank you for placing your trust in me not once, but twice, and allowing me to be your voice in council. Working with you has been a tremendous privilege, and together we've achieved some really great outcomes for our community. Some of the highlights for me include hosting the Logan Village Summit back in 2018 and delivering a range of summit outcomes from then until now. I've been really proud to contribute to the identity of the growing Yarrabilba community, and after 7 years' work, I was really thrilled to see the opening of the Bars, a centre dedicated to earning and learning. I particularly enjoyed rolling up my sleeves and working with local residents in Tamborine, Cedar Creek, Wolfdean and Baliva on environmental projects, many of which I know are close to your heart, Mr Mayor. And I've taken pride in maintaining the beauty of our established areas in Windaroo and Waterford and Bannockburn with well-maintained gardens and upgraded parks. Working along our schools, our sporting groups and our cultural groups has been my greatest joy, and it has fed me and kept me sustained. Reflecting on my first election back in 2016, there wasn't a single CCTV camera in Division 4. Now there are 31, and the list of advocacy projects goes on. Serving as our city's Deputy Mayor and the City Lifestyle Chair, this term has been very gratifying for me personally. Both roles have exposed me to the broader city of Logan, and I'm really been reaffirmed that Logan has a community spirit second to none. I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude also to the CEO, directors, managers, program leaders, the officers that I interact with on a daily basis. Your commitment and professionalism are commendable, and Council is fortunate to have such calibre of capable leaders at the helm. I will greatly miss you. And I appreciate the time you have dedicated to helping me drive community initiatives. I'd also like to say a special thank you to all the council officers who daily go out and deliver for our community. They're unsung heroes, and I appreciate you. To my councillor advisor, Lucy Riley, and I believe Lucy's here today. Thank you, Lucy. Lucy began working for me as an ESO right when I was first elected in council, and she showed me the ropes. She'd been here in council longer than I, and she knew how things worked. Later, she was elevated to the position of personal assistant, and in 2020, she was the first appointed councillor advisor in Queensland. I often have been caught saying to residents, everyone needs a Lucy. And by that I mean everyone can benefit from being supported by a hardworking, intelligent, enterprising and dedicated individual like Lucy. Lucy's currently on leave at the moment, but I know that she's come in to be in the gallery today. Thank you. I wish her every future success in her endeavours. I'm not really a crier, so this is a bit unusual for me.
Doing great.
Okay, now the really hard one. And on a personal note, my family. I want to thank my husband, Andrew, for giving me the space to pursue my passion. Much of who I am as an elected member is thanks to my husband. I admire his integrity, his calm demeanour, his patience, his ability to see the best in people, and his willingness to try again. Thank you for the sacrifices you have made to support me in my journey. To my children, now young adults, Alex and Angie, thank you for your unwavering support, encouragement and belief in me. I know it wasn't always easy having a mum as an elected member. You are without doubt my greatest treasure. So, where to from here, Mr Mayor? I look forward to seeing out the term as the Division 4 Councillor and the City of Logan's Deputy Mayor. Then, I'm going to shift my attention to finishing my Masters in Business Psychology degree, spending more time with my family and heaps of travelling. And after that, who knows? Watch this space.
Ooh. I might respond by saying that you're going to be sorely missed, and that your first 4 years, you were in the trenches with me, Councillor Raven and Councillor Bradley, and it was a tough 4 years. For you to get through that, as Councillor Bradley and I had been through other councils, to get through that and to see it through, you did an amazing job. And I know the work you put in, all the legal work you put in. Also, as chair, you've done a wonderful job, and as deputy as well. I know 8 years of experience will be a big loss to the organisation. It takes quite a bit of time to pick up how this place runs as councillors, so you will be missed. But of course, your friendship will be missed as well, and your personality will be missed. And I hope life is all sunshine and lollipops from here on in, because you deserve that from what you've gone through in the last few years. So well done on the announcement, and well done, councillors. I might conclude that for today's meeting. I now declare the meeting of the Ordinary Council closed at 11:15 a.m. Thank you.